Narcissistic abuse is real. Sometimes people don't think it is, sometimes people don't actually know what it is, but when it comes down to it, the abuse that happens from a narcissistic individual is 100% real and 100% deadly. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge. You can access that at claritychallenge.net. If you like what you see here talking about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, I'd love to have you subscribe. Hit that notification so you can get notified when we drop new videos, when we go live, when we are doing live Q&As, or whatever it might be, that you can be a part of a community to help you grow. When we're talking about narcissism, like, what is narcissistic abuse? Is it real? Is it something that should be brought up or that we should identify? Well, I want to talk to you today about how it is real, what narcissistic abuse actually does and causes, why I share it on my platform, and how I've hurt others, and the reason why we're actually here talking about it today. When we talk about narcissistic abuse, there's 9 different characteristics of narcissism that makes up narcissistic personality disorder. And with those 9 characteristics, when a person has those, or when a person exemplifies those consistently throughout their life, they're known as a narcissist. And they get diagnosed by a therapist, and they're known as having narcissistic personality disorder. There's a lot of people that aren't diagnosed and that continue going through life doing the same hurtful things. With narcissistic abuse, there's a huge part of manipulation, of being able to manipulate another person to get compliance, to get what they want out of a certain person. There's an aspect of exploitation, of exploiting the other person for whatever they have, whether that's their money or sex or their image or whatever it might be, to be able to get something from that other person. A huge aspect about narcissism is controlling another person. For me, there was a part of my life growing up and a part of my interactions with girlfriends and interactions with other people thinking that love meant control. Thinking that if I loved this person, it meant that I controlled this person. That's how I had to twist it in my mind to make it make sense or to make me feel better about the things that I was doing. You see, the abuse that happens with a narcissist doesn't just fall under one category. That's the hard thing with narcissistic abuse, is it's multiple things typically. From emotional abuse to psychological abuse to physical abuse to sexual abuse. It's not just typically one type of abuse. It's kind of like a plethora of things wrapped together that produce a feeling of being crazy, a feeling like you don't know what's actually going on. You see, the hard thing with narcissistic abuse is it normally doesn't come up to you and it just is right there in your face. You have that with grandiose narcissists, with narcissists that don't really care and just throw it out there. But a lot more on the side of covert narcissists comes more of the subtle abuse, the subtle devaluation, the subtle, slow, small things that slide into a relationship that make you feel like you're crazy, that make you feel like something's wrong, but you can't identify what's wrong, that see a disconnection, but you're like, I don't know where this is. And oftentimes with this subtle, covert aspect of emotional abuse that slides into the relationship, it's very insidious because it slowly erodes your sense of self-worth. It puts you in a place where you don't feel like you are worthy of love, like you are allowed to have love, like it is okay for you to be loved, but that your needs don't matter and that you don't count. Oftentimes you get to the place where you feel isolated and they steal your independence and you're no longer able to interact with friends or family or people around, not because they told you you can't do this, but because they made you feel bad for having friends. They made you feel bad for spending time with family, or maybe they punish you by the silent treatment or multiple things like that that slowly get you to the place where you're all alone. And you don't have friends. You don't have people that you can interact with, and definitely not people you can talk to about your relationship. Maybe that was frowned upon. Maybe that was something that you're not allowed to because it's supposed to be you and that person. Sometimes you'll have this aspect of belittling, of slowly like putting you down small piece by small piece by small piece, pulling back praise so that you are like, so you see that person giving praise to another person and you're like, but what about me? I just did the same thing, and you don't care. Sometimes putting down your feelings, dismissing of your needs, undermining what you want, what you're thinking, what you're doing, and leaving you at a place that feels worthless. Oftentimes with a narcissist, you'll get to the place where you won't have a sense of self anymore. You'll feel worthless. You'll have no self-esteem. And a lot of times you'll feel lost. When we talk about feeling lost, a lot of times we're talking about the fog, the fear, the obligation, the guilt that leave you in a place that you don't know what to do. You see, typically a narcissist will walk you into this fear, this obligation, this guilt. They'll walk you into this fog and they'll leave you there. And the purpose of that is to be able to control you, and is to be able to trap you, and to be able to get you to the place where you are stuck in the fog, and then you're directed by their voice outside the fog telling you which way they want you to go. Controlled. And so a lot of times we'll see people that are stuck in the fog, that are stuck in a trauma bond, and they're not sure how to get out. Because that abuse causes a lot of different things. Mental trauma, emotional trauma, psychological trauma. We'll see it come out in the body in different ways, CPTSD, OCD, autoimmune, like all the symptoms that come just from CPTSD. There's so many different things. Narcissistic abuse is real and is very deadly. There's some people out there that want to minimize it. They want to shut it down. They want to say it's not that big of a deal. There's only a small percentage of narcissists that are diagnosed in the world. And even when you take that small percentage and you multiply it by the billions of people on the planet, it's actually a pretty large number. Not to count the fact that narcissism as a whole is not going to get diagnosed because the people that have narcissism don't think that there's anything wrong with them. They typically refuse any type of treatment or any type of help. I feel like a lot of times the people that minimize it or that put it down are typically the ones that have never experienced it, or that don't really have an idea of what narcissism actually is because they haven't seen it in real life. Well, I got to the place where I started to share it on social media. I got to share it with other people. And recently I had the opportunity to stand in front of a room of men and actually explain and tell what I did for work and why. And I realized in that moment that it was like the first time that I've actually explained and said that stuff in person to like people that don't know me. It's different with like a workshop or something like that, with people who are coming in or they're working with me one-on-one, things like that. They already know some of my story. But to be in a room with people that had no clue about my story and say, hey, this is what I do. I work with narcissistic abuse survivors. I work with people who have been in abuse and been in trauma to help them heal. And the reason why I can be an expert on that and try to be able to help people on that is because I am a narcissist. And because I understand how a narcissist thinks, because I can walk through it and see that. And the reason I'm able to help people heal now is because I'm the person who did those things. I'm the person who abused emotionally and mentally. I'm the person who put my wife through that type of trauma. And standing up and like saying that in front of people felt different. But there's also a piece that it felt relieving to be able to say it and have that honesty and that truth piece be shown with other people, because that's what I've been doing on social media for a long period of time. And I got to the place where I knew in my life that I wanted to no longer lie, but I didn't know how. And I slowly got through a process of identifying, like seeing the lies that I was having, slowly working on bringing those to light and actually confessing them, admitting them, and then catching them and then stopping them. Because I got to the place with social media where I was like, I want to go on social media and I want to communicate my story. Not because I'm looking for a following, not because I was looking for coaching or anything like that. I never even thought about that when I started the platform a couple years ago. All I thought about is I want to show up as being real and honest, and I need to do that everywhere. Not just with my wife, not just in therapy, not just with a couple of people, but with everybody on the planet. So I started getting on the platform and I started to tell the truth. I started to burn the ships, burn the bridges, back to the things that I would have wanted to go through. And that's where I started coming up and telling people what I did or how I was with narcissism, all of it. Sometimes people ask, like, what did you exemplify? Like, what did it actually look like? Like, were you actually fully narcissistic? All these different things. And the answer is yes. And if you look at narcissistic personality disorder, the 9 characteristics, I've exemplified all 9 of those. One of the biggest ways was this aspect of distorting reality. And I talk about that in several videos that I have on YouTube with the idea of gaslighting, love bombing, and future faking. There's many times in the relationship I would gaslight my wife, and I would tell her that she was crazy with thinking that I was cheating on her when I was. I would minimize the things that she would see, or the flirting, or the talking to other people, or the texting, or the late nights, or whatever it might be, and make her feel like she couldn't trust herself or her own reality so that I could do what I wanted. I would love bomb at the very beginning to make it look great, to be able to capture, to be able to connect, to be able to have that relationship, and to be able to get out of trouble later down the road. Of giving gifts, of planning stuff, of doing whatever, to be able to avoid that accountability in the moment. And also future fake, to say, hey, I'll be better, I'll work on it, I'll change it, I'll stop texting this person, I'll stop interacting. Plan things and make promises that would never happen. And those are the things narcissists do to distort your reality and to keep themselves extended in your life a little bit longer. I don't say all that to brag on it. I say all that to say it's real and it's dangerous. And there's people that think that it's not. So I want to do this video just to help people understand and help people see. If you think that you're dealing with a narcissist or a toxic person like this, reach out for help. I'd love to be able to sit down with you and kind of walk you through the steps of what's happening in narcissism, the narcissistic cycle, understanding the triggers, understanding the mindset, the fog that's getting placed on you, and the trauma bond that you're having to deal with. I meet with people all across the globe. Log into Zoom, interact, talk, process things, go through things, and give people clarity from the crazy making that they've endured. If you want to interact, if you want to be able to reach out just to be able to get some clarity, understand, share your story, to be able to see, hey, does this match up? Is this something that I'm not seeing? Then go to rawmotivations.com. Click on one-on-ones. Would love to interact with you, set up a time, and we can get together to be able to go through and provide that clarity to help you heal and move forward with you.